Welcome to my presentation on mastering business communication, from basics to overcoming barriers. I am Dr. Mohammad Fazil Sharif, Head Department of Marketing Management at Pune College, Pune. I'm thrilled to have you here today as we embark on a journey to enhance our skills and capabilities in the world of business communication. In today's fast-paced and dynamic business environment, effective communication is the cornerstone of success. Whether it's mastering the fundamentals or navigating the challenges that can arise, this presentation will equip you with the tools and knowledge you need to excel in your professional interactions. Throughout this presentation, we will explore key concepts, strategies, and practical tips that will not only help you become more effective communicator, but also empower you to overcome common barriers that may be holding you back. Effective communication is not only about what you say, but how you say it, when you say it, and to whom. It's about understanding the power of words, non-verbal cues, and the importance of active listening. So get ready to sharpen your communication skills, build stronger relationships, and rise above the obstacles that may be hindering your success. By the end of this presentation, you will be well on your way to mastering the art of business communication. Without further ado, let's dive in and discover the secrets to effective communication. The English word communication has been derived from the Latin word communicare, which means to impart or participate or to transmit. The word communicare is derived from the root communis, which means common or to share. Communication is the activity or process of sharing or exchanging ideas, feelings, information, and experience between two or more persons. Let's look at some definitions of communication. The Oxford English Dictionary defines communication as the action of conveying or exchanging information and ideas. Peter Little defines communication as a process by which information is transmitted between individuals and or organizations so that an understanding response results. Alan Louis defines communication as communication is the sum of all the things one person does when he wants to create understanding in the mind of another. It is a bridge of meaning. It involves a systematic process of telling, listening, understanding, and responding. Keith Davis defines communication as communication is the transfer of information and understanding from one person to another. William G. Scott defines business communication as business communication is a process which involves the transmission and accurate replication of ideas ensured by feedback for the purpose of eliciting actions which will accomplish organizational goals. The last definition covers 4 aspects of business communication: the sender's ability to transmit his own ideas accurately, the receiver's mental ability to get the same idea as were transmitted, the feedback or the receiver's response, and finally, eliciting action which will help to achieve the goals. Next, we will see the process of communication. Communication is a complex process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, and feelings between individuals or groups. It involves a sender, a message, a channel, a receiver, and a feedback. Sender. The sender is a person or entity initiating the conversation. The They encode their thoughts or ideas into a message that can be understood by others. For instance, a manager might want to communicate a new project idea to the team. The second element is message. The first person in the process of communication is the sender. A sender is a person or entity initiating the communication. They encode their thoughts or ideas into a message that can be understood by others. For instance, a manager might want to communicate a new project idea to the team. Next, we have the message. The message is the information, idea, or emotion that the sender wants to convey. It can be verbal, non-verbal, symbolic, written, in any of the formats. In the example above, the message is the details of the new project and its objectives. The third step is encoding. Encoding is the process of converting the message into symbols, language that can be easily understood by the receiver. It ensures that the intended meaning is accurately conveyed. In the project example, encoding involves choosing the right words, tone, and format to present the new project detail. In the center of all this is the channel. The channel is a medium through which the message is transmitted. It can be face-to-face conversation, email, phone call, video conference, or even a written document. The choice of channel depends on certain factors like urgency, complexity, and the nature of the message. Then the message is received by the receiver. The receiver is a person or a group for whom the message is intended. They decode the message to understand its meaning. In this project scenario, the team members are the receivers. Finally, decoding. Decoding is a process by which the receiver interprets and understands the message. It involves translating the symbols or language back into the original idea. In our example, team members must decode the project details to grasp its significance and requirements. The last step and the most important step of communication process is the feedback. Feedback is the response or reaction of the receiver to the sender's message. It completes the communication loop. In the project context, team members might provide feedback by asking questions, expressing concerns, or showing enthusiasm. Effective communication requires clarity, conciseness, and consideration of the audience. Misunderstandings can occur at any stage of the process, emphasizing the importance of feedback to ensure that the intended message is accurately received and understood by the receiver. Dimensions of communication. The dimensions of communication refer to different directions or patterns in which information flows within the organization. These dimensions highlight how communication channels are structured and how information is exchanged among individuals or groups. Downward communication. Downward communication refers to the flow of information from higher levels of the management to lower levels within an organization. It involves the transmission of directives, policies, goals, and other information from top management to middle and to lower level employees. For example, a CEO communicating company strategies to department heads or manager providing instructions to subordinates illustrates downward communication. Upward communication. In contrast, upward communication involves flow of information from the lower levels of the organization to the higher levels of the organization. This communication channel is essential for employees to convey feedback, suggestions, concerns, and progress reports to their superiors. An employee sharing idea with a manager or submitting a report to a higher management is an example of upward communication. Horizontal communication occurs between individuals or groups at the same hierarchical level within an organization. It facilitates coordination, problem solving, and the exchange of information between departments or colleagues. For instance, employees from marketing and finance department collaborating on a project represents horizontal or lateral communication. Diagonal communication. Diagonal communication involves communication between individuals or groups at different levels and in different departments or sections of an organization. This form of communication allows cross-functional coordination and information sharing. An example is when a manager from the marketing department communicates directly with a staff member from the production department to address an issue. Effective organizations often strive to maintain a balance between these dimensions of communication. Open channels of communication, both upward and downward communication, foster a culture of transparency, collaboration, and efficiency. Horizontal and diagonal communication channels help break silos within an organization, promoting a more interconnected and collaborative working environment. Overall, understanding and effectively managing these dimensions contribute to a healthy and communicative organizational structure. Channels of communication. Channels of communication refer to the pathways through which information is transmitted within an organization. These channels can be broadly categorized into formal and informal channels. Formal channels of communication. Formal channels are structured, official, and established by the organization's hierarchy. They follow the lines of authority and are essential for the transmission of official information. Examples of formal channel include downward communication, a CEO sending an email to all the staff members announcing a new organizational policy. It also includes upward communication, an employee submitting a project report to their manager as an example of upward communication. Horizontal communication, an example of marketing manager communicating with project updates to the sales manager. These are all the things that come under formal communication. Informal communication channels. Informal channels are spontaneous, unofficial, and unrelated to the formal organizational structure. They arise naturally within the workplace and often cut across formal lines of communication. Examples of informal channel include grapevine. It is an informal network. This is an informal network of communication that spreads through social interactions. For instance, employees discussing rumors about upcoming changes in the organization during the lunch breaks. The second type is face-to-face conversations. Informal discussions between colleagues that may not follow the formal reporting structure. An impromptu conversation between two team members in the hallway discussing a project is an informal channel. Social media and instant messaging. With the advent of technology, informal communication has extended to digital platforms. Employees might use messaging apps or social media platforms to share non-official information. While formal channels are crucial for official communication and maintaining organizational structure, informal channels play a role in building relationships, fostering a sense of community, and transmitting information that may not follow official lines. Both formal and informal channels contribute to the overall communication landscape within an organization, and effective leadership recognize and manage both to ensure a well-informed and connected workforce. Barriers in communication. Barriers in communication are obstacles that can disrupt or impede the smooth flow of information between individuals or groups. These barriers are associated with physical environment in which communication takes place and can have a significant impact on the effectiveness of communication. Here are some type of common barriers in communication. Noise. Noise is the first major barrier to communication. Communication is distorted by noise that crops up at transmission level. The meaning attributed to word noise in the field of communication is derived from the realms of physics. In physics, noise refers to a random and persistent disturbance which occurs or reduces the clarity of a signal. The modern day connotation of the word noise is irrelevant or meaningless data, as is apparent from its usage in the field of computer science. For example, the noise of traffic around a school obstructs the smooth flow of information between the teacher and the student. It makes oral communication difficult. Similarly, poor signal or static while talking over a cell phone or while using a public address system or while watching television also distorts the sound signals and disrupts communication. Noise is not only the disruption of sound signals, but it also includes all the barriers that may arise at any of the various stages of communication. In a broad sense, it denotes semantic barriers, perceptual barriers, as well as psychological barriers. Next, we have physiological barriers. Physiological barriers are related to a person's health and fitness. They may arise due to disability that may affect the physical capability of the sender or the receiver. For example, poor eyesight, deafness, uncontrolled body movements, etc. Physical defects in one's body may also disrupt communication. While using communication, a person uses his vocal, speech organs to produce sound and speech, his hands and fingers to write, his ears to take in the spoken words, his eyes to absorb the written words. Flawless functioning of these body organs is inevitable for effective communication to take place. In case of any defects in any of these organs, the successful completion of communication will be difficult to accomplish. Speaking can be adversely affected by stammering, fumbling, utterance of improper sounds due to defective vocal organs, etc. Cultural barriers. Cultural differences gives rise to a great deal of complexities in the encoding and decoding of message, not only because of the difference in languages, but also specific assumptions at work in mind of the sender as well as the receiver. People belonging to different cultures may attach different meanings to words, symbols, gestures, and behavior. Thus, cultural barriers arise when people belonging to different cultures insist on preserving their cultural identities and at times judge the other cultures as inferior to their own. The next barrier we're going to see is semantic or language barrier. Semantics is the systematic study of meaning of words. Thus, the semantic barriers are barriers related to language. Such barriers are problems that arise during the process of encoding and decoding the message into words and ideas, respectively. Both the oral and written communication are based on words, symbols, which are ambiguous in nature. Words and symbols may be used in several ways and may have several meanings. Unless the receiver knows the context, he may interpret the words or symbols according to his own level of understanding and may thus misinterpret the message. The most common semantic barriers are misrepresentation of words. That is, semantic problems often arise because of the gap between the meaning as intended by the sender and that as understood by the receiver. This happens when the receiver does not assign the same meaning to the words as the transmitter had intended. But for communication to be perfect, it is essential that the receiver must assign to it the same meaning which the sender had in his mind while encoding the message. Therefore, there is always a possibility of misinterpretation of the message. Mostly such problems arise when the sender does not use simple and clear words that can convey the exact meaning to the receiver. Use of technical language. Technical or specialized language which is used by people or professionals who work in the same field is known as jargon. Such technical language can be a barrier to communication if the receiver of the message is not familiar with it. I'll give you an example. In computer jargon, to burn a CD means to copy your data on a CD. But to a layman, the word burn may have a very different connotation. Ambiguity. Ambiguity arises when the sender and the receiver of the message attribute different meanings to the same word or use different words to convey the same meaning. Sometimes, wrong and speculative assumptions also lead to ambiguity. A sender often assumes that his audience would perceive the situation as he does or have the same opinion about an issue or understanding the message as he understands it. All such assumptions may turn out to be wrong and cause major communication failure. Next, we have technological barriers. Technological barriers in communication encompass challenges arising from the use and adaptation of technology, impacting the efficiency and effectiveness of information exchange. Unequal access to technology creates a digital divide, hindering communication when individuals lack the same devices for connectivity. For example, if an organization adopts a new communication platform without providing adequate training, employees may struggle to use it effectively, leading to misunderstandings and inefficiencies. The next barrier that we're going to see is gender barrier. Gender barriers in communication arise from societal expectations, stereotypes, and cultural norms that influence how individuals of different genders interact. Stereotyping can lead to biased interpretation of communication styles, such as assuming women are more emotional or men are more assertive. Non-verbal cues, language use, and power dynamics further contribute to misunderstanding. For instance, women may face challenges being heard in a male-dominated environment due to gender-related dynamics. Next, we will be seeing the remedies to overcome the barriers in communication. Overcoming barriers in communication is crucial for fostering effective and productive interactions within an organization or in personal relationships. Various barriers such as language differences, cultural misunderstandings, and perceptual biases can impede the flow of information. Here are strategies for overcoming communication barriers along with examples. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay. Active listening. Encourage active listening by giving full attention to the speaker, asking and clarifying questions, and paraphrasing to ensure understanding. This helps overcome misunderstandings and promotes clear communication. For example, during a team meeting, instead of assuming the speaker's message, actively listening by summarizing key points and seeking clarifications on any ambiguous details. Clear and concise communication. Communicate messages in a clear and concise manner to avoid ambiguity. Use simple language, especially when conveying complex information, to enhance understanding and reduce the likelihood of misinterpretation. For example, in an email, provide specific details and avoid vague language to ensure the recipient comprehends the messages without any ambiguity. Third, cultural sensitivity. Be mindful of cultural differences that may impact communication styles and norms. Foster cultural sensitivity within the teams and organization, promoting an inclusive environment where diverse communication preferences are respected. For example, in a global business setting, conduct cross-cultural training to enhance employees' understanding of different communication styles and cultural nuances. Feedback mechanisms. Establish feedback mechanisms to allow for clarification and confirmation. Encourage individuals to express their understanding or seek clarification if they find aspects of the message unclear. This promotes a continuous loop of communication. For example, after giving instructions, ask one of the recipients to repeat or summarize the information to confirm their understanding. The fifth one is use of multiple communication channels. Utilize multiple communication channels to cater to different preferences and circumstances, combining face-to-face communication, emails, phone calls, collaborative platforms can enhance overall communication effectiveness. For example, when introducing a new policy, combine a formal email announcement with an interactive town hall meeting to address questions and concerns. Next, empathy and emotional intelligence. Develop empathy and develop emotional intelligence to understand others' perspective and emotions. This facilitates more meaningful and compassionate communication, particularly in sensitive situations. For example, a team leader recognizes a team member is stressed. He engages in a one-on-one conversation to understand their concerns and offers support, demonstrating empathy and emotional intelligence. Next, we have training and development. Provide training programs on effective communication for individuals and teams. These programs can address specific barriers, enhance communication skills, and promote a shared understanding of communication expectations. For example, an organization invests in communication workshops for its employees, covering topics such as active listening, effective feedback, and cross-cultural communication, enhancing the overall communication skills of the entire workforce. Next, we have conflict resolution skills. Equip individuals with conflict resolution skills to address disagreements constructively. Effective conflict resolution contributes to a healthier communication environment and prevents prolonged misunderstandings. For example, when a disagreement arises between team members, a project manager facilitates a constructive discussion, encouraging each party to express their concerns and collaboratively find a resolution. Next, we have leadership and role modeling. Leadership plays a crucial role in setting the tone for effective communication. Leaders should model open and transparent communication, creating an organizational culture that values and prioritizes clear and constructive interaction. For example, the CEO regularly communicates with transparency about company goals and challenges, setting an example for other leaders to follow suit, creating a culture of openness and honesty within the organization. In conclusion, mastering the art of business communication is essential in today's dynamic and fast-paced environment. As we've explored the various dimensions of communication, it is evident that effective communication is a complex process that involves multiple elements and considerations. Throughout this presentation, we delve into the components of communication, including the sender, message, encoding, channel, receiver, decoding, and feedback. We have also discussed the dimensions of communication, such as downward, upward, horizontal, lateral, and diagonal communication, highlighting the importance of maintaining a balanced and transparent flow of information within the organization. Furthermore, we explored the channels of communication, distinguishing between formal and informal channels and recognizing the significance of both in fostering a well-connected and informed workforce. The presentation also shed light on the common barriers to communication, ranging from noise and psychological barriers to cultural, semantic, technological, and gender barriers. Understanding these obstacles is crucial for overcoming them and ensuring effective communication within diverse and dynamic settings.